All right, so we are live and we are back again this week for Talks with Alex. Um, and I just want to say that tonight is a very interesting night. We're going to try to get through this conversation because, of course, I'm about to hate watch the debate. I can't stand Donald Trump. I think he's a moron. And then also, I don't like Joe Biden. I mean, because he's Joe Biden. I mean, this is his, third run, and he's finally won a state and he's the nominee. Beyond all of it, I have to watch the debate at 9 o'clock. So we're definitely going to go do that. But I have some great guests. I've been wanting to do this show for a while now because I have so many amazing friends, some new, some old, and some that I'm building new relationships with. The arts community is something that's very close to me. I went to Howard University for music business. I studied jazz voice. And so my first career was actually being a full-time musician working for the Washington Performing Arts Society in Washington, D.C., where I won a number of Washington Performing Arts awards. I sang at the John Kennedy Center. I sang at the Library of Congress, Congressional Black Caucus. So I had a decent career. I didn't have to work a job. After the economy collapsed, I decided that the struggling artist thing wasn't working for me. So I had to figure out what I wanted to do. And I ran into a great public figure named Barack Obama, and it just changed my whole life. So after that whole thing, the music world, and the arts, what's going on in these spaces? How's COVID kind of had to make them change? The creative arts is something that is very close to a lot of people. It gives us a way to kind of go into an imaginary world. It allows us to think and dream and hope of better things. And so I invited some musicians and dancers and actors whose work that I've actually watched and followed for a while now, and decided to bring them on. They're actually all very accomplished. And as I was going through their social media today, I got to see just how talented some of them really are. And so I decided to bring them on the show, and we're going to have a talk about what's going on. And I'm just going to go ahead and introduce them to you and kind of talk about who they are. All right. So the first one that I'm going to bring up is somebody that I met a long time ago when I first got to Philadelphia. And his name is Tommie-Waheed Evans. All right. He is a proud recipient of the 2020-2021 fellowship from the Center for Ballet and Arts at NYU. Born and raised in Los Angeles, his professional experiences include the popular sitcom The Parkers, the Emmy Awards, Hope Boy Can Dance, Radio City Christmas Spectacular, Lula Washington Dance Theater, the Philadelphia Dance Company, Philadanco, and Complexions Contemporary Ballet. He has created works for the Ballet X, Dallas Black Dance Theater, Philadanco, Verb Ballets, Ballet Memphis, the University of the Arts, Boston Conservatory at Berkeley, Lula Washington Dance Theater, Louisville Ballet, among others. Yeah. So he's done a lot of stuff, basically. Yeah. I'm excited to have him on my show. And then we have another great actor. I've actually met, ran across this actor because I actually ended up watching one of his movies. And I was just like, oh, wow. And so I started following him on social media. And I was just like, okay, wow. So I just been following his career ever since. It was really random. But his name is Davon Williams.
Then you've seen it all. You've seen it all. No.
But Davon Williams is a newly elected delegate from the Actors Equity Association. He is also the host of The Recipients with Davon Williams, which focuses on exploring inequities, drafting solutions, and executing action. A performer, TED talker, and lover of comic book lore, he got his start in Philadelphia after graduating from the University of the Arts, where he quickly became a rising teaching artist within the Philadelphia School District. All right, so last but not least, honestly, there are very few people that I'm genuinely a fan of. I have always been a fan. Okay, since the first time, because me and Nicholas went to college. We went to Howard together. And I remember the first time I saw Nicholas, right? Nicholas was singing How Does It Feel in what we call the Punch Out. And they used to have I was a music student back then, and so we used to all get up there. We used to perform. It was kind of like a karaoke type thing. And Nicholas Ryan Gant got up there and slayed like this man's song. Like, and I have been a fan. And Nicholas always says I'm being dramatic about this, but I have all his music. I've always followed his career. I just wanted to put that out there.
You're quite ridiculous.
So, yeah. But anyway, Nicholas Ryan Gant is a New York-based artist and educator from Phoenix, Arizona. Gant studied classical voice performance at the Mecca, Howard University in Washington, D.C., a master's degree in music education from Hunter College. Gant is a worship leader. He'll take you in. At his local church in Brooklyn, and his passion for youth development has led him to work as a music educator with the New York City public school system. And so this is my great panel. I'm excited to discuss these things with you all. So I'm going to bring them all in, and we are going to wow. All right. So I just kind of want you guys, because I kind of gave you like a soft touch on some of the things that they have done, but I kind of want to give you all the opportunity to discuss or tell people what you actually do and what's been going on before the pandemic started. So what projects were you all working on before the pandemic, and what are you most proud about? All right. So I will start with Davon, then we can move to Nicholas, and then we'll go to Tommie. All right. So what were you working on before the pandemic hit? And what are you most proud of? So go ahead.
All right. Before the pandemic, I had recently moved to New York. I had just wrapped up doing a show called Oklahoma. I was the lead, Curly, and I ended up getting hit by a Mack truck while I was riding a bicycle. So I finished the contract. I come back to New York. I am healing. I had to take the rest of 2019 off. 2020, we go in. I'm starting to audition again. Final callbacks for some Broadway shows. It's looking good. I am 100% healed up, and COVID. Oh, can you hear me okay? Okay, yeah, COVID hits. So once COVID hit, I'm sitting here like, well, what am I going to do now? So I'm sitting here looking at what's going on. I'm looking at all the old stuff I used to do. So when I was in Philadelphia, I launched the LLC. Where I pretty much helped people do some more integrations, did a lot with the Philadelphia school systems. I was like, let's bring it back. So I started LLC. I started doing notary work. I started doing some crisis management work, which I would normally do off the books. But now it's like, Black people getting credit for everything, run them pockets. So I did that. But the thing I was most proud of was I launched a show called The Receipts, which to me was supposed to be a how-to guide, a 10-episode arc on how to deal with racism in the theater industry. And it went from one episode dealing with a man who got caught giving racist, sexist, and nationalist tweets. It went from one episode of talking to this man about what he had done into a crazy look into institutionalized racism. So, and it ended with the president of SAG-AFTRA and their national executive director. So clearly, I'm most proud of that. And tomorrow, we're going to announce that we're bringing the show back for a special episode in which we're going to talk about Sherry Sanders, one of the most popular teaching artists in, I think, America when it comes to, she has the book called Rock the Audition. She got in trouble because her words aren't aging well. They're not aging well at all. So what she's going to do is the brave thing of coming forward as a white woman, identifying the problem, taking accountability, and talking about how to solve it. This is new shit. I'm sorry. This is new stuff. New stuff. It's great.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, wow. Okay. So you were doing a lot of great stuff before the pandemic hit. How about you, Nicholas?
It hit me pretty hard. It hit me pretty hard because I actually got COVID. I was one of the lucky ones. I got the first, I guess the first wave of it. I don't really even know, but they decided to close New York public schools on the 15th of March. That was the day they sent out the tweet, right? and then I started feeling symptoms that same night. So, but prior to that, I was working as an educator, and gigging as a musician. I had just done a show with John Batiste, he's the musical director at the Late Show. Um, did a show with him. I was just in LA taking meetings, to do some vocal coaching for some record labels out there that February. And, just kind of going with the flow. I mean, New York is such a hustle, as far as like musicianship goes. So you're like constantly grinding. But oddly enough, too, that day, Donald Glover's album came out March 15th, and I had sung backgrounds for two of the tracks for that album. So it was like a little bit of a weird moment. There were like really good things happening all in the midst while I'm feeling like I'm gonna die because nobody knows what this disease is. And I ended up going into the hospital. I was in the hospital for 6 days because at the end of the crazy fevers that happens with COVID, if whatever strand you get, I couldn't breathe. Like I was like literally gasping for air after like 10 days of having fever. So I was in the hospital for 6 days, and came out to came out of the hospital and then ended up having to transition to online learning. So I'm like teaching these kids online while I'm like trying to breathe at the same time too. So, a few things, a few things were happening during COVID, but I'm still here. And now I'm still fighting like this online distance learning thing because it's really, really difficult as a musician, as a music teacher specifically. It's really strange. It's been very
Yeah. Yeah. I just had a conversation with my education friends. I mean, I also taught when I was in DC. That was another thing that I got into as I was transitioning during the recession. And education has been hit like a firestorm, like teachers having to adjust
yeah,
using the technology. Like it's been absolutely crazy. I mean, and the arts, of course, is the first thing that leaves the public school system when these types of things happen, when you have to prioritize what you're going to teach the children. So the teachers, the art, the music or the arts kind of get the back end of everything that's happening, and you kind of lose
absolutely.
a lot of touch. But we could probably get back to that at some point. Tommie, what? How about you?
I was doing work on Louisville Ballet. I was traveling for my day job at the University of the Arts. I'm a teacher, assistant professor there. So I was doing some audition traveling to Los Angeles and Pittsburgh. Right when the shutdown started, I was in Oklahoma and I was teaching, doing a piece from the University of Oklahoma dancers. And in the middle of that, we were trying to figure out if I was going to finish out the residency, if I was going to have to be sent home. I ended up being able to finish, came home, shut down, was already in the midst, and their show got canceled. Then following after that, just like Nicholas, University Arts had to come back from spring break, and we had to come back to being virtual and figuring all that out, dealing with that. I think a big part of it was, yeah, everyone can switch to virtual, but not everyone was prepared emotionally. Then also dealing inside of that, the fact that like certain dancers' parents and grandparents and uncles and aunties were actually catching this virus, so you was dealing with that inside your classes. So I feel like in the spring, I turned from a teacher to a counselor at certain moments. Um, but a lot of gigs, a lot of teacher opportunities I had set up were all being shut down and postponed. One particular job I had was moved from June to August. And when it was moved to August, we all had to wear masks and we all was in the studio with boxes. So the world and everything around what I was doing kind of situated and shifted. The major thing that I'm most proud of has nothing to do with my art, has to do with myself. Before COVID started, I decided I wanted to buy a house. So I was in the process of doing all of that and I closed and moved in the midst of COVID. So I'm really proud about that.
Yeah. That's been my mantra, right? I'm gonna come out of this situation better. So I'm about to graduate in December. I decided to go back to school, so it's just like it's been a great experience for me. And financially, I mean, my job, I'm beyond all that. Yeah, let's talk about this because I mean, I think you bring up a really cool point. How was it adjusting to now trying to figure out how to be creative when there were no more audiences, there were no more crowds, right? One of the things about arts is that you guys are able to conjure up a certain amount of energy that also feeds off of crowd participation. And it's kind of difficult sometimes. Well, not necessarily if you're doing a movie, but if you're doing like live theater, right? You're able to feed off the crowd and get off the energy, and it kind of pushes you. I know when I used to perform, it's lovely when I hear people like, yeah, sing, you know, or like when people are dancing, you can feel the energy of the people in awe of watching your movements. And even it's crazy, just the energy that you get. You don't get that same energy when you're talking to a screen. So how have you guys had to adjust to now going virtual, and what have you done to go virtual? Like what platforms have you had to use, and how have you been able to express your craft during these times? And so I'll let you start that off, Nick, and then we'll head to Tommie and then go to Davon.
Am I still muted? Okay. For me, it's been definitely interesting, like having to become your own production studio. Like this ring light and like this ring light that I'm on right now. You see this glow, right? Um,
Uh,
like and learning how to like film and like sync audio and do all of these things that sort of you would maybe outsource if like technical things that you never would probably do on your own, right? That has been the most challenging and rewarding part of all of this. Obviously, you miss the actual audience, right? You miss that interaction because you feed off of that, like you said. But for me, the adjustment really has been challenging myself, because like without the audience there, like you really have to push yourself and you have to look deep within, to really find that inspiration to perform and to give of yourself. Like for me, I think I don't want to keep this is the last time I'm gonna bring it up. You guys can hold me accountable, but just having COVID, like, and not being able to sing and not being able to breathe and sing, like, every time I'm able to open my mouth and sing and share my gifts with people, it's like it's something that you can't. I don't know. It's like something that you can't even describe. It's like this feeling that you can't describe after like not being able to do it. So that's really been a joy, to actually be able to share after not being able to. So
I hear you. I hear you. So how about you? I think it was Tommie that I said next, right? So how about you, Tommie?
To kind of plus one, Nicholas. My students say that a lot now on Zoom. Plus one. When someone's saying something they want to agree with. To piggyback, to piggyback off of that though, something I'm really trying to make sure that I'm doing is remaining grateful. Something I said in one of my online classes out of nowhere, I was just screaming it over and over again. It was like, we are here and we are alive. Like we are here, we are alive, and we're still able to do what we've been chosen to do on this earth. So in some of the artist talks I've had to do, are I'm doing an informant in a couple of weeks. It's just really centering and getting back to what the root is. Like, dancing as if no one's watching you. That's a famous quote that we follow. Showing our art because it's our life, is what we stand on. So if I'm going to do this on a screen for 20 people, I'm going to give my all. I'm going to show you my art because it's not really about the masses. It's not about sold out theaters. Those things are great. Those things I wish can come back, but it's really about my connection with this gift that I've been given. So, and something I said today to one of my classes, like, let's find the joy in the situation. So yes, we're in, virtual land, and yes, I'm dancing in my bedroom or my basement, but like, what are the joys inside of that? What am I learning inside of this time that I can bring forth in a new way once I'm back in real time with people in the room?
Mhm.
So those are some of the things I'm thinking about right now.
Well, I mean, and let me just kind of bounce back at you because I mean, yours is a lot more hands-on. I mean, you are dealing with dancers, right? And so you have to kind of like help guide them or help fix their lines as they're like doing their art. I mean, how are you teaching effectively in this space? I mean, because I know yours is kind of more of a physical thing
It's
with you.
physical, but like, something about what I do in my dance class, because I was raised in church. A lot of students always says like, it's like this spiritual experience that's kind of happening to them. Like the music is pumping, I'm marching around, I'm preaching, I'm saying all these mantras. But what the biggest thing that's been hardest for me, I can let some of that go, is just the fact of following intuition. One of the gifts of being a teacher or a choreographer is learning the bodies that are in the room with you and seeing what's needed. Like the way a student or a dancer can walk in the door, that if everything needs to shift, if we need to have a more quiet day, or if we need something that's more driving to pull them through, or to kind of say what you're saying, I don't really give hands-on corrections, but I will go to someone and like just say something to them, like, hey, I'm noticing this, yada yada. So being in virtual land, those two things are incredibly hard, but they're still possible. So, for example, I wait 5 minutes now. I wait till everyone's getting on with their cameras, and I'm seeing like what environment they put themselves in. Are they in their backyard? Are they in their rooms? Are they moving slow? To follow my intuition. And if I want to say something privately to a student, I just privately chat them in the chat line and be like, "Hey, is everything okay?" Blah 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 blah. So I'm trying to find ways to get around those things, but it's not impossible. It's just more difficult, or it's more challenging. I don't want to say difficult. It's more challenging, but it's still possible. Like we have to make a way to make these things happen.
How about you, Davon? I mean, like, how are you transitioning?
The transition for me is a little different, only because I'm an introvert, very much an introvert, big personality, but I'm an introvert. I'm a product of University Art. So, Tommy, you can adhere to this. I came during the time of Johnny Hobbs Jr., Reggie Pindell, Zane Booker. So all of them are very much like activism. What is your art saying? Be Black, like live in your truth. So I have the weight of that. Growing up in Baltimore Catholic Jesuit school, I got that good old Catholic guilt. I grew up in an AME church, so it's all, like it's a mixture of all those things, on top of the fact that I am shy. So a lot of it was breaking out of that. And when I had graduated, I started off as a teaching artist. I was like, what's really easy for me? And this is kind of what I wanted to do, because I had learned how to read. I had learned how to write through a teaching artist coming in and bridging the gap for me. I was behind. And if it wasn't for them, I would not have excelled. So like for me, it was kind of a personal battle. So I became a teaching artist and I would act here and there. South Philly High had gone through this crazy like race issue that had taken place. Long story short, it was an interracial couple that broke up and CNN blew it out of proportion. But in that work, I was able to work with them and go, darn, I am sitting back on my gifts. I'm going to go for it. So when I started booking and getting a little bit more popular, it's during the rise of social media in the comments section. So I see the comments section. You said, what I don't have time for? So I started going to my other friends. And I was like, hey, let me help lift you up. Let me help figure this out for you. I started working with politicians, Philadelphia politicians, Jersey politicians, and ghostwriting for them. And that was kind of a fair balance for me. And it allowed me to go more places. Because in Philadelphia, the art scene is vivid, it's experimental, but the pay is less than desired. So you can work nonstop and you look at your bill and look at how much you made, it's $20,000. Like it's not good. So in that, I also learned how to reinvest, how to do things, go to places where your art is wanted financially. So going to Hong Kong, going to Thailand. From there, I was able to go to do TED Talks and stuff like that, which were very good things. Now, leading up to COVID, I was already dealing with a little bit of guilt because, again, most people or most superheroes or most politicians or most activists, something has to happen for you to snap in. So that accident leading up to it, it got me because I was very happy going in my yacht life, doing shows here and there. I had done a show called Naked Dragon where I was able to get a strong percentage. And that thing during COVID has kept me financially set. So I learned how more so I don't have to be seen all the time. I can sit back and learn how the real business works and invest. But when COVID happened, Freddie Gray happened, Breonna Taylor happened. And knowing that I have these skill sets of writing, knowing that I had this personality, knowing that I can like do these things, I just straight up called myself out. I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough with my art, with my voice, with my stuff. And now's the time to do it. So 2020, don't get me wrong, is an awful year for the world. But for an introvert like me, it's one of the greatest things to have ever happened financially, personally, for my relationship, for my career, and more importantly, for my activist voice and seeing the people that are helped out of that. So when it comes to having an audience, I've never really been big on that. But when it comes to being impactful, oh my God, this year, unbelievable.
Yeah, it's kind of the year of the introvert, right? Because it was it allowed me to kind of like really, one, get to know myself, one, really kind of clear out my circles.
Yes.
Because I realized there was a lot of dead weight around me. And then also focus on what was really important to me, right? And really get to know myself a lot better, because I realized in the hustle and bustle of life of really just trying to be successful, you don't do a lot of self-care things that you don't realize that you're not doing. And when everything stops and you're forced to stop, you realize, oh, there's these projects in my home that I should be doing. Yeah. Or like, oh, like there's this book that I wanted to read that I just didn't get a chance to do. Or, wow, I really wasn't getting enough sleep because I was always out drinking. In fact, I drink too much. I eat out too much. What am I eating all the time? Because I'm constantly on the move. Like, so like all these things just come into focus. Let me just say, like, I mean, I know that, a lot of us, we use our art, our artistic abilities to gain income for ourselves. How did COVID affect this secondary income, and how are you guys making it up? I mean, I understand that Davon said that he was doing more investing, and he was kind of learning about that. And actually, that was one thing that I did get a chance to do. I mean, I learned about Black-owned banks, was able to invest in that. And so like, that was something that was really good. And to really invest in the stock market, I was blessed that I was able to maintain my job. And so like, this financially for me was a really good year because I was able to save. I didn't realize how much I was out constantly. And so staying at home and not having to go out really saved a lot for me. But how did you guys adjust to the financial impact that it happened where it took away probably one of your streams of income? And I'll start with, I'll go back to Davon with that. How did you adjust to the loss of that income?
I had to lean into the other work I was doing more. So like I said earlier, I did a good amount of ghostwriting. What I do know is there are two things. Everyone has a dream. Everyone has a dream. And everyone wants a dream. So some of the things I would do, especially after that first time of just seeing the comment section, man, one of the first things I did is I wrote out proposals and pitches for all of my ideas. So what happened is when an artist came to me and was like, I need an idea, I need this, we signed that good old NDA and I'd show them what I have and then just sell it. Just like Nicki Minaj goes, I have a verse, $50,000, please. So it's that same exact thing. So I leaned more into that. The other thing I leaned into was, here's a good example. So I was paying out for one of my projects called, oh my God, this dog is going to be the death of me. Okay, there we go. There, you got your time. All right. So there's this group I had called because I had realized when I was paying out, all my investors were white. They were white men. And I was like, well, how do I fix that? So I created this thing in which like I was going to teach people about the stock market, how to do ROIs and all this other fun stuff. And then once they started making money, I'd be like, be my investors. So I started it. 4 weeks later, I'm trying to get these guests to come in and just teach. And one of them goes, what is this again? How does this work? And then when I go in to finalize, he goes, I'll buy it from you for undisclosed amount. And I said, what? And he was like, yeah, I'll buy it. And the thing is, like, when something's good, when one, someone wants to put you on an NDA, and two, when someone wants to take it from you. So I pretty much been doubling down on that. And then the other thing is I want more Black people, people of color, mixed people. I want more of them to hit their dreams. So a lot of times I'm building teams for people. I just did this thing with a woman who's trying to build a children's book network, like launch a network for Black faces to see people that look like them. So I've created the team for her. I did a couple of the auditions for illustrators, and then just set that up. So that's kind of what I've been doing, and it's kind of stronger in my wheelhouse. And then just to get a little bit more brand recognition, I'm taking my own personal projects like the receipts and stuff like that, and just showing people what I've been doing forever, but behind the scenes. That's it. God, I got to answer these questions better. And you've had enough time. You've had enough time.
No worries. And I mean, yeah. Nicholas, you go next.
Can you repeat the question? No, I'm just kidding.
Go ahead.
No, I definitely during the pandemic. I'm just kidding, Davon. I'm a jerk, but I actually really like your answers, and I definitely want to talk to you about a few things I need to build out. So I'm glad you said that. But no, for me, it's been really. I know it's weird to say, but like financially, like because I'm a DOE employee, I didn't really feel a hit, like as far as like like a huge financial burden. But I mean, obviously, I didn't have the same amount of gigs, but as far as like in person and like singing background and shows, but as far as like recordings, like that stuff, it didn't stop because it was so. It's I do it all virtually anyway. Like starting, like beginning with MySpace, that's how we started to connect with people like via the internet and email and stuff. So like it's nothing for like somebody to send me vocal or send me like stems and say, can you record these backgrounds. And then also with my virtual vocal lessons, it went through the roof. Like I think I had like 20 students this whole summer. I had like 20 regular students. So I feel weird saying that because obviously everybody took a hit. I took a hit as far as like gigs, but as far as like finances, I like Devon said, I really was just kind of leaning into like the other things, like leaning into my voice lessons, like leaning into singing backgrounds, and I got a huge placement on the Run the Jewels album. I don't know if you guys know Killer Mike and LP. Everybody knows Killer Mike right now because he's a big mouth, but he's a great guy. But I got a big placement on their lead single that's featuring Pharrell. Like I'm singing like backgrounds on that, and I did that all virtually. So um, it's so weird to say it. I feel kind of bad like saying that it didn't really hit me that bad. But as far as shows, yeah. But the work really didn't stop. Thank God.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
I've been saying the same thing. I mean, like financially, this has been a great year for me. And for some people, it was. I mean, the stop forced us to save, or the stop.
Yeah, seriously.
Our habits that were kind of bad that we just didn't do before. How about you, Tommie?
Kind of off of what Nicholas is saying, I do have a full-time job with the university. So, and that's blessed me to have a steady income. We have took a pay cut this year for this new year, which I secretly have bitched about, but that's okay. I'm just gonna keep it moving. So that's the only thing I felt in this time. Pretty much from September to December, I didn't have anything lined up as extra. my extra gigs start again in January. And as of right now, those things are still going to roll out, whether it be filmed or, however it's going to happen. So that's a blessing. When it first happened, I'm a homebody, so I was like, great, I don't have to go to a party or I don't have to make a trip, and I can just pocket that money. And then, I had already saved enough to buy a house and do things that way. So, but to hear how people who work part-time and those things are being furloughed, like my heart goes out to everyone in those situations. But thanks be to God that wasn't me over here. So.
And I think that's really, and I think there's a message in that as far as artists are concerned. You have to figure out how to you need that consistent stream of income that's going to support your life.
Let me tell you something.
Then you also need the side hustle that helps you still stay creative. Go ahead.
So let me tell you, I've been at the university for like 10 years now.
Mm-hmm.
The first 5 years, I was an adjunct member.
Mm-hmm.
And somewhere in there, someone suggested I apply for full-time, and I was like, I'm not really interested in doing that. I'm freelancing. My choreography career is taking off. I'm traveling, I'm doing this. And a mentor of mine sat me down, was like, as artists, you want to always have a main source of income and get a job that can really work with your schedule. That's the hard part. But she was like, that's the blessing in it. And all during this year, I have sent her so many messages like, girl, I'm so happy I listened to you. Because, like, Nicholas, because that is just needed.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I learned that lesson in 2008 when the economy collapsed the first time, right? Where it's just like,
you're lucky.
I had to figure out what was going to happen because I found myself in a very, very poor situation where I was living in spaces that I couldn't imagine right now. That collapse specifically for millennials, for the older millennials that were just coming out and starting their careers, and the ones that were going into college trying to figure life out. Like, we went through first 9/11. Then after that, we went through the first economic collapse with the banks. Then we're now going through a pandemic and another economic collapse. So my generation specifically has gone through several catastrophes. And then as somebody who was into arts, because my thing was churches, singing on gigs, singing for the Washington Performing Arts Society, when the economy collapsed the first time, all those grants and everything left. And so I guess it kind of leads me to my second question. I know the government, because I love politics. The government gave out PPP loans. These are paycheck protection loans to kind of help businesses and nonprofits kind of continue to do their work in a time where the economy was collapsing and there wasn't that many donors giving. And at the end of the day, as an artist, you are an entrepreneur. You are the business. Whatever your talent is the product. And the goal is to be able to maintain and keep investing in that product so you can continue to sell whatever you do. And so how do you think the government could have helped you out a little bit more, or did the government help artists in the art world? And so I'll toss that back at Davon, since this is kind of where he's been going politically or not, or like in his activism. Then I'll bring it back to Tommie and then go to Nicholas. So how could the government have supported you a little bit better during this time as you try to continue to do the work that you do as an artist?
Watch me punt this ball. There's a group called Be an Art Hero. I have had the joy of working with Be an Art Hero, looking at the briefings, watching them do some great work with the senators. The PPP loan, yes, great, awesome. Okay, the other thing that they want to put up, I believe it's called something that I don't even care about, because this is the real issue. The issue is that they are pulling money to fund the venues, not the artists. And what they don't understand is that we are the business. We're the ones doing the draw. We're the ones pulling people in. So when they give these umbrella things of money and go, look, we've helped out the arts, you did not. You know nothing about the arts. You don't even know GDP wise, we're doing better than the coal miners you bail out. Tell me more about how we're not helping this economy. So what really gets me with it is that a lot of this could have been solved if they had just given it to the individual artist. But of course, that's way too progressive, because what it sounds like to them is they're giving away free money. And I mean, if you really want to get honest, we're not the ones paying $750 in taxes when we should be paying a bunch more. So we need to redirect that energy. And that's part of the issue, is that we're just not respected. One, because they don't understand our craft. When they see us, they look at me, which there's a lot of artists who are like that. But a lot of us are artists, not spectacles. I don't know what other way to say it. And the people who have longevity in this are the people who do not end up applying at Wells Fargo or the other places going, I used to, I coulda, I woulda. No, the people who are actually doing this are the ones who have to sign W-9 after W-9 after W-9. So until they acknowledge the truth, which is the facts of how much we give to the GDP of this country, we're never really going to fix the issue. But that causes them to put down their egos. So Be an Arts Hero is doing something great. They're creating an incredible bill, which is garnering some support. And hopefully they're able to fix that issue. Because if there's money in our pockets, we're going to spend it. It's that simple.
Sounds a little bit socialist to me.
He's preaching good, though.
Yeah.
You preaching good, Davon.
No, I'm into it. +1.
Yeah. Go ahead, Nicholas. Go ahead, Tommie, and then we'll go back to.
I was like +1. Like that was it. Like I agree. Keep it moving, Nicholas. You're next.
Yeah.
Right. I definitely like agree with everything that he said. I think it's way too progressive for them to actually give the artists the money, and it's too scary for them, even though it makes the most sense. I mean, take New York City, for instance. Like, Broadway generates, like, how much money? Like, millions and
Would you like the facts on that?
If you have them, spit it out.
Broadway produces more money than all of the major stadiums in that area combined.
Wow.
I don't even disagree with that. I think that it's so ridiculous, and these Broadway kids are like sitting here like, what are we supposed to do? And they're all like waiting, and then they push it back again, and they keep pushing it back again. And all these shows are slated to open, and like they don't know if they're gonna close, and they don't know how they're even gonna sustain it once it opens. And I just think it's crazy, because they have all of these Nederlanders, and let me stop, but all these people who have like all this money, who own these venues, that are gonna get cuts, and then you have all these actors that are just there, like, waiting. So I know a lot of people have made the transition to LA, like with hopes that they might pick up a pilot or something like that, or more commercial work, because it's desolate. And even walking through Times Square, it's literally like a ghost town. It's pretty scary. So, I definitely agree with everything Davon has said. And I mean, even as a teacher, the government support has been what? Like, they can't even agree on how to turn the lights on, like, in the building. They can't agree on anything, and then we're just here caught in the middle. And obviously, I don't know, like, I don't want to get too political, but I think it's really crazy that they're trying to consider us essential workers, but they're not, like, properly taking all the precautions. Like, these school buildings are not equipped for these kids to go back. They're not. Like, luckily, I work in a new building. Like, the building is only 4 years old, and so the ventilation system, is it's good. It's solid. Like, we're good. But these kids in, like, Brooklyn and the Bronx, with these buildings that were built in, like, the 40s and 50s and 60s, like, they're gonna get sick. Like, there's no way they're not gonna get sick. And so I just feel like they're doing a very, very poor job at making choices that are really going to, like, help the kids. Like it's all political. It has nothing to do with them caring about the kids having, the proper education or receiving the proper education. So it's
Well,
awful.
I'll say this, and I forgot to put this plug in, but I have to shamelessly do it. Y'all, please make sure you like, share, comment. Please shoot questions in the chat if you have one for our great guests. Thank you for watching again. And you can also watch this on YouTube. It's on Talks with Alex is the channel. You can live stream it there if you seem to be having issues with Facebook, because Facebook has been having a lot of issues lately. So again, like, share, comment. Okay, another question, and looks like we got about 15 minutes. And so this is going to have to be a quick one. And then after this question, what I want you all to do is tell people how to follow your careers, how to get your music, how to watch your next show or what you're doing next, so that we can stay in contact with you all. I shared your like pages on my page. So if you are streaming this from my actual like page, all of their pages, their public figure pages, are shared and tagged to this post. So you can actually go to their page and see what work they're working on now. All right. But I want to know is how do you think that this virtual stuff is going to affect the future of the arts? Do you think a lot of these transitions are going to stick long term, or do you think that it's going to be a quick shift back to the way that we did things before after this is all over? And so I guess we can start with Tommie with that, because he seems to have had the most immediate reaction from it. And then we'll move. We'll move to Davon and then go to Nicholas. All right.
I get in trouble with that all the time. No, I mean I'm going to speak from the dance perspective. I think classes will continue to be smaller when we go back. I think building codes are going to be an issue going back, and I definitely think there has to be a lot of massage to the consumer and parents and then everyone, just to kind of like get back into the swing of things of wanting to be around people and what are the rules, what are not the rules. Like I went to a Sunday party on Sunday. We had these armbands on, and red meant like not to touch you. Green was like you can get a hug, and I think yellow was like you can do a dap. So I think those things are going to stay for a minute. But the building codes I know will be an issue. Like, I think COVID has done nothing, just exposed the United States of being nasty.
Yeah.
You tour Europe, and like it's so clean. Things are just so clean. So, I
hear you. How about you, Devin? Wait, Davon, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Right now I just became a delegate for the Actors Equity Association. I ain't even gonna lie. I am nervous for every single union that I am a part of. And a lot of that comes from the fact of what's been exposed. I think a lot about all of the unions, SAG-AFTRA. I think about Actors Equity, and I think about what investments did you do as a union with the money we gave you 2 times a year? Did you buy buildings? Did you do everything else so that you wouldn't have to just rely on dues? Were you using our money effectively so that all of us can get an equitable shot? I think racially, a lot of things are going to change. I think a lot of things are already changing. And I think right now we have to find the line of, is this being done in hopes that when things blow over, they can rehire all of their white friends? Or have we created enough legislation, enough movement, enough structure to where we are going to be in a better equitable place? I think Chris Rock said it best. Whenever you wake up another day, it's always going to be better for Black people. There was no good time of the past. It was not. So all I can think moving forward is that things can't help but get better. And sometimes you need to take very big hits so that you can sit and reflect on where you need to go.
Okay. How about you, Nick?
Yeah, I think that it's also interesting. I did a show. I did a show the other day. I think I think it's really just forcing us to be creative, and to really think outside of the box. I did a show with some people you probably know, Tommie. It was like all It was a dance show that I was invited to do and sing and be a part of. But we did it in like this sort of like it was an art gallery studio called the Lightbox here in New York City, and there were all kind of projections and like aerial cameras and like different, just to like really enhance the experience. And it was all on Zoom, but we did the same sort of run through, but everybody got their temperature taken, and before we walked in, we all had to wear masks, and stay separated, but we still got to put on a show. Obviously there was no audience in the space, and that's where I was talking about in the beginning, like, really digging within yourself to push yourself to be inspired to perform. Um, and I think that it's gonna take a lot more. I mean, and as an artist, we already do a lot of like self-reflection. As artists, we do a lot of self-reflection and a lot of self-digging. But I think that it's gonna be even greater. And like Davon was saying too, as far as like the activism goes, I think that like right now, like our art has no choice but to, reflect the times, and I think that like hopefully these celebrities, these sort of like microwave celebrities will catch on, and really become like a part of the movement for real, like, and use their voice and really become like better artists, you know?
Yeah, social media has put a lot of people out in the forefront that don't necessarily have the same level of season that some
Yeah.
more established artists do. And so I will leave it there and ask you guys to tell us what your next project is that you're working on and how can people follow you. And I guess we'll toss it back at you, Nicholas, and then take you, Davon, and go to Tommie. Okay. What's your next project, and how do people stay in contact and follow you on social media?
Sure. So I'm working on an album or a project like that I kind of got the vision for, uh, and it's something completely different that I've never done before. I'm actually like producing it all myself, um, which is pretty interesting. Before I would rely on producers, so I'm working on that. Um, and one of my mottos, or I guess, or mantras that I wrote um, in the beginning of the year was, in 2020 I will finish what I start, right?
Mm.
Because like as artists we always start so many things, and like I have all these like half finished songs that I've never released, and so I really want to finish that project and get it off of me, and then anything else that happens will just be, it'll be a pleasant surprise. But you can follow me on Instagram. That's where I post the most, material and music and content, at Ghetto Falsetto. You can also find my music at ghettofalsetto.bandcamp.com. Tommy, you just had an aha moment because we have like thousands
Hal
of mutual friends.
Abraham.
Exactly. I was like, we have thousands of mutual friends, like literally thousands. Yeah, at ghettofalsetto.bandcamp.com. So that's where you can find, my music.
I love bringing people together.
I was waiting for him to, because we have like literally like that, like
I just saw you.
hundreds to
I just saw
thousands.
you sing, and when you appeared, I was like, he looks so familiar.
It's so funny.
Just saw you sing. Okay.
Davon.
I went and notated Nicholas so I can look him up and follow him while he did all that. All right.
Music.
Yeah, I'm gonna follow you back.
My goal for this answer is to give the shortest answer. So time me. Here we go. Out of the three. Number one.
Mine was mad long. Sorry.
I hopefully you got me beat. Start the clock now. Okay. At Day Willing, that's day like 2 day willing able. Just put that in. And I'm saying that more so because as a delegate, if anyone who's part of that union has any questions, any concerns, anything like that, I'm here to tell you I probably don't have all the answers, Sway. But what I can do is I can research, I can direct, and I can do all that. It's a weird time. A lot of us don't know where to go to. If you are a member of Actors Equity and you have questions or you just want to know, at me. It's okay. I'm very good with responses. I wish I wasn't that good. Right now, the receipts is the most important thing in my life, especially because Thursday, we are literally going to do the work live on this situation that has rocked our theater community with Sherry Sanders. And it is very brave to see her show up and go, I've wronged the community. Here we go. It's time for me to sit in this chair and be accountable. And you don't see that often. So the receipts with D.com or Facebook.com/the receipts with D. These are the two most important things. If you want to see me perform, I'm doing this international digital concert. It's for the Philippines. So you have Manila, Quezon City. I'll be in New York City. We have someone from Los Angeles. So we're all coming together to do this like international thing, share stories. And finally, feels like it's been forever. I get to sing again. God, I'm just not. I do other things besides activism, I promise. All right.
And how about you? Tell me.
Yeah, Spring 21, I'm being presented by the Philadelphia Dance Project to do a new production entitled Home. Home is basically, trying to investigate and examine being Black and being gay in America. That's with my company, Waheed Works. You can follow us on Instagram, Waheed Works. You can also find me on Instagram, Tommie-Waheed, but please follow Waheed Works. We're trying to, get our following going. And inside that, I have a special composer, Daryl Hoffman, who's going to be doing the sound. And I haven't done a production since like 2026. In 2016, sorry.
Sounds like from the future.
I know, right? So I'm really, really excited about that. And that's mainly it, what I'm really looking forward to.
Okay. All right. So, and this is how I'll close it out. I usually tell everybody to leave our audience with a positive word. So if you can just give me maybe one or two sentences on something positive that you would like to leave our audience with, that would be greatly appreciated. And then I'm going to close this out and go ahead and watch this gesture clown show that we're going to call a debate. All right. So we'll start with you, Davon, and then we'll go back to Tommie, and then we'll end with you, Nicholas, and then I'll say whatever I need to say.
Oh God, I would like. Hold on. So we're learning governance rules. So I'm going to try something out. I would like to yield my time to Tommie.
Oh.
Crying.
Okay. All right. Something we used to say in Philadelphia that I still say to my students: nothing to prove, but everything to share. In all things that you're doing, you never have anything to prove, but you have a lot of things to share.
Okay. All right. And Nicholas?
I heard something the other day that was really profound. One of my new coworkers, she said, if you can't be kind, be patient. And that kind of hit me, because, sometimes we can't always say the right thing. But if we can at least take the time to listen, or at least take the time to give the person space, it'll help. And I think that right now we're all going through crazy stuff. And so if you can't be nice or be kind, at least try to be patient with people. So that's my new thing.
That's good. You sure, Davon? No?
I'm going to yield my time to Alex. No, I'm joking. I guess I wish a Karen would. That's positive. No, I'm joking. Brene Brown has that idea of if you're not in the arena, she don't want to hear your mouth. So of course I need to show up if I'm in this arena. So I think something that's been sitting with me a lot is actually something really religious. There's this thing called the prayer of Saint Ignatius, which is essentially, especially in times like this when it gets hard, because it's really easy to be a good person when things are going well for you. But when you are in a time like 2020, it is Lord, teach me to be generous, teach me to serve you as you deserve, to give and not to count the costs, to fight and not to heed the wounds, to toil, not to seek for rest, and to labor and not to ask for any reward. Save that I'm knowing that I do your will. That's it. So whatever entity you believe in, for me, it is the Lord. But yeah, just that idea of just selflessly, unconditionally giving.
I am a fan. Thank you all. I really
Yes,
appreciate
yeah.
you for your time. I will be following y'all stuff. Yeah, and please, audience, please support them. They are amazing artists. You got to see the work that they do. Advocates, artists, dancers, singers, everything. And please follow this stuff. I definitely will. Nicholas, please let me know when that album comes out so I can add it to the rest. See you guys later. Thank you so much for saying yes to being on here.
Thank you so much, Alex. Thank you for having us.
It's nice meeting you guys.
All right, so let's end this thing with a bang. I will say this: I am thoroughly moved by all of their graciousness and their talent. I mean, and like I said, please, y'all want to hear some good music. Y'all want to see some really good dancing that you're gonna feel moved by. Y'all want to hear some stuff that's going to make you think. You got to hit up every last one of these artists. They are amazing. Let me see. I got 0 minutes. So I'll say this again. I've been, for some reason, this seems to be my mantra. Please be kind to yourself. These are crazy times. We are the hardest on ourselves than anybody else. The mean things that we say to each other, ourselves in our heads sometimes are completely not justified most of the time. I was watching a study and they're talking about productivity. And a lot of the things that's happening and why our productivity is being lowered is because our lives have changed dramatically because of this pandemic. And so we are human. We're going to make mistakes. Other people are going to make mistakes. Make sure that you give people the same grace that you would want them to give you. All right. Yes. Follow me on YouTube, Talks with Alex, Instagram, j.alex.deering. You can follow me on Twitter. It's Deering_Alex. I'm trying to think. Oh, LinkedIn, Alex Deering, of course. And you can always hit me up. Send me suggestions on talks, questions, comments. I love constructive criticism, jay8390@gmail.com. Now, I know if you want to come to me sideways, I will come back sideways, and I'm very slick with my mouth. That's always what's got me in trouble growing up. And so, like, hey, we talk? We can have a conversation. Just let me know. All right. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you next week, Tuesday at 8 p.m. All right. Talks with Alex.